Hey, welcome back to 1023 Culture. And today, before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, get ready to leave some comments in the comment section, as I really want to know your views on the stuff that we're talking about. Uh, one of the things that we're doing is we're going to be, talking about movies and games and television and music and how do all these things affect us as Christians and how should we respond to it. This is a culture thing. So based on that, we have to we need to get some definitions involved. We need to kind of study up on the concept of Christianity and how it's responded to culture in the past and how we're expected to respond to it in the future. We're going to go through an article today, kind of word for word. Sorry, I don't know any other way to do it. This is from Boston University School of Theology, which is a seminary, Center for Global Christianity and Missions. Christianity in the World of Cultures. So let's just kind of break into this here. This is done by a PhD candidate. I don't have a date on this. If you look at this, there's no date on this one. Hey, look, COVID information, just like everyone else. So used with permission from Laura James. That's that piece of artwork right there. That was nice of them. You got permission for that. So let's kind of go over it a little bit. The study of world Christianity begins with a basic premise that Christianity is, and from its inception has been, a cross-cultural and diverse religion with no single dominant expression. And we see this in everything from the Reformation. We just had Reformation Sunday for the Protestants out there, and also we have all these different denominations with different little viewpoints, and different aspects of how they worship. You have things like a very conservative churches. You have very liberal churches. You have churches that allow gay pastors. You have churches that say no, you can't do that. It's all there. You have churches who go and do street walking where they walk the streets and pray for people. You have churches that doesn't work for them, or people are just scared to do it. That's a scary proposition, by the way. So just an example. So throughout history, all Christians have lived in specific cultural contexts, which they have to varying degrees embraced and rejected. Examples again, yes, the concept of homosexuality can go back to, depending on the church you're in. The concept of abortion. Personally, I'm very much pro-life. And most of my church is also pro-life. Most of the churches I know are pro-life. However, that doesn't mean that's an exclusion or exclusive to Christianity, that you have to be pro-life. Now, personal opinion, okay, yes, you do, but that's a whole other story, and that's an argument to have between Christians, so it's something we can debate. Regardless of a positive or negative attitude toward their surrounding culture, all Christians must respond to their surrounding context. It is in Christians of many and various responses that Christianity gains its unique multicultural and polyvocal texture as a world religion. Polyvocal is a new word for me, but I think it does kind of speak to an awful lot of this. So it's those Christians who embrace surrounding cultures use indigenous language, music, art forms, and rituals as potent resources for their own ends. Christians have a history of taking that which is not Christian and then filling it with Christian meaning. Examples coming up. Christians inherited Roman vestments and German Christmas trees. Your Christmas tree. It comes up every year. It comes up on the Facebook, and I'm sure it happens on Twitter and everything else, where people talk about, the Christmas tree it's a pagan thing. Yes, it is. Along with the Celtic cross and things like that are also taken from other cultures and given Christian meaning for various reasons. Oftentimes because it makes the other culture accept Christianity better. Oftentimes. Yet even at a more basic level, Christians borrow pre-Christian languages and use them for Christian ends. Jesus did not speak Greek, Latin, or English. Yet each of these languages has been used to tell his story and teach his message. The actual language that Jesus spoke is considered a dead language. It was never a written language. And so, the first Bibles, the first New Testament was written in Greek. Okay, and so we have to understand that. Then it moved into Latin, and English. Are you kidding me? There wasn't even English. The basics of English language are barely getting started 2,000 years ago. And so if you're somebody from England speaking today from 2,000 years ago, you'd have no idea what they were saying. So that's definitely changed a lot. Um, as Christianity continues to find a home in new cultural settings, Christians continue to borrow new languages and cultures to tell the story of Jesus. One of my personal goals is to be very strong in the metaverse that Facebook is creating, as well as other large companies are working to create. And by having a strong presence there, we're actually utilizing culture of the internet for Christ. An example of that is VR Church in Altspace on VR and virtual reality. Head pastor of that is a man named DJ Soto, and he used to run a mega church in Reading, Pennsylvania. He's and he said he felt the calling, he felt the need to do it. Left the mega church, piled his family. They said he has 5 children into a 30-foot trailer and started across the country. And that was the start of that calling. Eventually became, over the past few years, this thing called VR Church, which is the very first, at least that's his claim, church in virtual reality. Virtual reality is very new, so this is a great place for us to get into the ground of the culture of virtual reality. And yes, when I say Altspace, VR Church is also in VR Chat. It's also in Twitch. He does a Twitch stream as well. So all of that is a possibility. Christians continue to borrow new languages and cultures to tell the story of Jesus. We already said that. For those Christians who take a more guarded approach to surrounding cultures, their message will be one of caution. Not uncommon. I mean, we don't like change, do we? We're not, as a general rule. I mean, and it has a part to do with age. I'm an older guy, so for me, change is a little tougher. I like to think I accept it pretty well. I've accepted virtual reality really well. I actually want my church, my home church, to break into virtual reality. And so I think there's an opportunity there for spreading God's word. Their message will be one of caution. Nevertheless, reaction against culture can be as powerful for identity formation as would be accepting culture. Thus, Christians throughout time have taken stands against alcohol, polygamy, divorce, abortion, and a myriad of other issues. I've struggled with alcohol myself. Confession time right there. I am dry now, and I have been for over 11 years now. I've been sober. So polygamy. It's there's movements back and forth. You have things like the Mormon Church has even said no more polygamy, and they said it many years ago. There's still some people practicing it. It's considered against the law in the state of Utah, but they still do practice it. But as a general rule, we as a church understand that it's one man, one woman. That's marriage. That is a representation. However, again, the whole concept of cultures. There are people who are fine as Christians with gay marriage. So and we'll say we don't think God cares so long as it's stable, monogamous, a stable monogamous marriage. They think that God doesn't care. I'm not going to tell them they're wrong at this point. I have a lot more studying to do on that. Naturally, the fact that Christianity is polyvocal and multicultural leaves many different answers vis-a-vis culture. Some Christians might reject a certain practice, while others gladly accept it. Again, gay marriage is one of the things we talk about. Is a big hot button issue. So there we go. Debates over ethics and practice are intrinsic to the multicultural nature of the Christian religion. Thus, Jesuits saw no harm in Chinese converts honoring their ancestors. while the Dominicans and Franciscans called it idolatry. So there's something, in just south of the United States and in Mexico, there is a very large there's a Day of the Dead, and it's a very large ancestor worship. Is it worship? I'm not sure if you want to call it worship, but definitely ancestor honoring for the Day of the Dead. And some I have heard say that it's simply they're taking their pagan and they're intertwining it with Christianity to have a cover. On the other hand, on the other side, this is nothing new. Again, we have a Celtic cross. Western missionaries in Africa were more often than not solidly opposed to polygamy, while indigenous church leaders were occasionally more willing to entertain the possibility. So with that, I mean, you think about polygamy again. I mentioned Utah and the Mormon Church, and the Church of Mormon, Latter-day Saints. I'm not sure. So polygamy. The indigenous churches in Africa, they were more willing to sit there and say, it's okay because you've been doing it all this time. We're just, we're not going to make you change that. And whereas the Franciscans and the Dominicans said, no way, you don't do that, right? So, sorry. So, and so the missionaries had the problems with it. In today's world, the questions of gender and sexuality fuels debates among Christians across cultural lines. Yet this is not to say that Christianity lacks a core and is completely determined by surrounding culture. On the contrary, at the center of world Christianity is a story. It is the story of the relationship between God and the world as told through the lens of Jesus Christ. The example, influence, and reality of Jesus have provided a touch point for all Christian traditions. Generations of Christians throughout the whole world, have been consumed by the question, who is Jesus? And also, what does his life mean for us? Christians across cultural lines also share various rituals: baptism, the Lord's Supper, gathering for worship, and the reading of and reflection on Scripture. Other examples involve what it was explained to me by our pastor of outreach, who has since retired. I'll just call him Mark. If he's watching, he knows who he is. And that's the concept that throughout Christianity there is a core, and he just called it a spine. Okay, using a body language there. The spine, the main support of Christianity, which is Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, was sinless, died on the cross for our sins, and was resurrected 3 days later. His teachings are in the Bible for us to learn from. All these things, and yet we have all the ribs. The ribs would be the different denominations involved. Denominations could be Orthodox Christians, it could be Catholicism, it could be Lutheran, Presbyterian, the PCUSA, the Eco Church, the various different churches, Episcopalian, Baptists, Southern Baptists. I mean, there's so many different denominations that are just this whole basis of the different various possibilities of how to worship Christ. Thus, the study of world Christianity asks what it is that makes Christians unique as individual groups and coherent as a whole. It seeks to understand the cause of division and conflict both within the Christian community and also with the wider world. As Christians become increasingly aware of their cultural differences, the study of world Christianity will provide tools for navigating diversity. It will also hopefully provide a space and a platform for discussing our differences and finding common ground. This is by Stephen Lloyd, a PhD candidate, Graduate Division of Religious Studies. So this is just a concept here, and I have other documents once I figure out how to bring them in here into Knox Labs, Knock space. These are some of the concepts we struggle with. And when we talk about culture, we need to even talk about the culture of here I am in the Pacific Northwest versus somebody who is on the East Coast. we have different culture and different attitudes versus somebody that's in Los Angeles, California. Somebody that's in Texas is going to have very different attitudes from the things I find in the church here. Somebody that's in Florida, that's staying within the the bounds of the United States. We start to get into other places like the Russian Orthodox Church or various places like that, or the Church of England. You have different attitudes there. There's so many different things that come together with that. So in your culture, what are some of the things that you do that you think are probably different from other churches or other regions? Are you in a church that is very accepting of homosexuality and abortion, or are you in a place? I mean, how are your kids dealing with this whole issue of gender fluidity? Because I mean, youth pastors have to deal with us on a regular basis, and so how are they dealing with? How would you deal with that? I've been very fortunate. I haven't had to deal with it in my own life. However, that doesn't mean it's not there. It's definitely there. So anyway, without a doubt, if you like what we're doing here, be sure to like and subscribe. Give me your thoughts on what we just read here. I thought it was a pretty good read. I have more kind of stuff like this to go through. Like I said, I just have to. Some of it's in just a document, and that's kind of hard to bring in here, surprisingly. So I would like to. We're working on that concept with Knox Labs, and getting this kind of stuff taken care of. So really appreciate your time. Be sure to come on over and check out what we're doing here. If you want to check out VR Church is with Pastor DJ Soto. They do several services each week, both in Altspace, VR Chat. I believe that, like I said, they also have a Twitch stream, so they Twitch stream live as well. That's a great place. There's also Calvary VR is another one that I've heard about, and I haven't been to it yet, but I want to check it out. And I'm going to be talking to my pastor this week, our senior pastor this week, about the possibility of advancing more, because I mean, my church itself is actually only up to about 2010 with technology. We got lots of good possibilities. The question is, do they have things like a strong enough internet signal to be able to push something like this out in virtual reality? Could we get a $5,000 360-degree camera to have people come in their virtual reality headsets and utilize that to be able to look around and see people that they haven't seen in quite a while. At least see the service much more personally, much more up close. I've been watching it on YouTube. YouTube is a cultural phenomenon, is a crazy phenomenon. You realize YouTube's only been around since 2006, for 15 years. And it is one of the biggest social media sites in the world. So all these things are still really new, and virtual reality is a really big new one. So I'd love to see more people in virtual reality, more churches in virtual reality as a cultural thing. So like I said, subscribe. I hope I didn't ramble on too much for you, but God bless you. You're great, and I'll see you on the next one.